Let's take a look at this email from Empire Flippers here with 8 online businesses listed for sale below $600,000. I'm going to go through this email here and look at the listings and share some of my experience-based insight into what I think about these businesses and what we can tell from the brief details that they include in this email here, and whether or not I might be interested in acquiring those businesses and why. So on that note, if you're out there and you're interested in acquiring an established online business, I think you're going to find this very helpful and insightful because personally speaking, I've bought a handful of businesses, some of them online, and actually one of them was from Empire Flippers. I acquired that business in August of 2024, so a little over a year ago, and that was my most recent acquisition. That said, I'm not affiliated with Empire Flippers in any other way, but I did have a positive experience buying from them, and I do feel like they were a very professional broker, one of the more professional and, how should I say this, well-operated brokerage firms that I have worked with. So let's jump into it here. They send out these emails periodically, and I like how they do this because rather than just sending out emails of what was listed for sale, they kind of pull businesses back and put them in front of people, and I kind of find them pretty interesting as I skim through the various emails that they send out. They might be businesses below a certain price point, businesses of a certain type, but they do a pretty good job of pulling the businesses back out of kind of their maybe aged listing database. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but listings that they have, pulling them out and bringing them back and putting them in front of people by email. All right, so here this week, 7 days ago, a little late to the party on this one, they sent out this email with 8 businesses below 600K. I have not looked at this yet, so we're going to skim through it here. First one, a SEO agency profiting $23,000 a month and listed for sale at an asking price of 22x. They've got 80 active clients specializing in SEO, advertising, chatbots, funnels, automated CRM. The business was started in 2021 under a different domain that was niched down to South Africa. However, the current owner rebranded around 2 years ago to fall in line with international markets. The agency offers a range of services with pricing generally on a monthly basis from $100 to $5,000. Yeah, a marketing agency. That's not something I'm personally interested in because marketing agencies typically have a lot of moving parts. You got a bunch of different clients that are always contacting you and asking you for stuff. You've got often a bunch of service providers, independent contractors, employees working on fulfilling the service ends of things. If I were going to take a closer look into this, I would want it to be something that was very productized, but I can tell from the way they describe this here as SEO, advertising, social media, marketing, chatbot funnels, and automated CRM. There's a lot going on here. So even at a relatively low valuation multiple, probably not too interested in this one. A Amazon FBA business in the health niche specializing in oral hygiene products listed at a 26x. Personally speaking, I'm not very interested in Amazon FBA businesses because they are platform dependent. Their one channel of customer acquisition is Amazon. They're dependent on that Amazon platform. So if Amazon raises their fees or, changes terms to their contract, your business is significantly impacted. And at that, you also have cases where Amazon tries to get into your space. They see you're making good money, then they try to start their own product line, Amazon Basics, in that space. So that being said, I don't see these as very robust businesses, not ones that I would want to be in. I know there's a lot of people that have gotten into the Amazon FBA space. That said, at this point, I see seemingly more listings coming up for Amazon FBA businesses for sale than I know people getting into this space. So possibly there's a lot of people trying to get out of the space, and I have seen the valuation multiples on them decline recently. The big opportunity here is if you can take the product and the business and start acquiring customers in another channel, right? Start running ads for them, do SEO, get them coming back to your own brand. That's the big opportunity. But that said, do you really need to spend $221,000 to get the product and ultimately try running ads for it or acquiring customers in another way? Because it's kind of like spinning up another business. Then we've got a B2B agency / consulting company that makes the majority of its revenue from cold outreach listed at a 15x, very low multiple. Program is a 4-month sales system where they help clients build their outbound sales process and recruit and train offshore business development reps. The multiple looks very low here, but I think one of the big problems with this business is that there's a lot of competition in this space. I've seen so much happening lately with people trying to sell outreach services. It's almost overwhelming. I get like cold emails every day for people talking about how they can help me scale my business, but with cold outreach, my business is just not one that happens to use cold outreach. It's really weird. It's just there's just such an influx and saturation, I feel like, in this space that I wouldn't really want to get into it. Next up here is an e-commerce business using drop shipping fulfillment in the growing solar and battery niche. 2 sites are included in the sale. One relying on paid ads, the other one making more use of organic search. There are 5 suppliers based in the US and Canada who drop ship to the customers. This one out of 29x doesn't sound too bad. Drop shipping as a fulfillment model is the most risky and lowest value of e-commerce. A lot of beginners, I should say, are appealed to with the drop shipping model because they don't have to hold any inventory or handle anything like that. But on the flip side, what's to stop someone else from drop shipping the same products, you see? For that reason, I'm not too crazy about a drop shipping business, but if it has been in business for a long time and it's operated successfully and sustainably, then, it kind of proves itself out that it can work. We don't see here, at least in the brief details, how long this business has been in existence. We don't see how lindy it is. But assuming it's been around for several years, this would be a pretty good, seemingly a pretty good deal here. One I'd want to check more into. We had another Amazon FBA and e-commerce business in the electronics niche with a particular focus on streaming equipment. The top selling SKU is 3,400 reviews, 4.3 stars in the EU, and 1,200 and 4.2 in the US. So it seems like they've got a good product, but just like the other one here, you're dependent on Amazon for the most part. They do say, I guess, additional revenue is also earned via a well-designed Shopify site, eBay, Walmart, and Newegg. But considering they didn't really put that up in the top of the description and they're describing it as an Amazon FBA, I'm going to assume that this is a very, very low percentage of revenue, like 90-10 at best. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just been my experience in looking at Amazon FBA businesses where they kind of have a little bit of revenue coming from somewhere else. On the flip side, you might also see businesses described as e-commerce or Shopify, and then they also earn a little bit from Amazon or these marketplaces. That is really not bad to me. That's kind of appealing, but still the primary focus here is on where their main source of revenue is coming from, and that's Amazon FBA. This listing is for a YouTube channel started in 2022, but got monetized in 2024. The channel is focused on shorts content and has achieved an impressive 2 billion views, making $22,000 a month. Listed for sale at a 20x. The content is produced by the seller who creates 1 to 2 shorts edits per day. All right. This is interesting here. YouTube businesses or YouTube channels, I've seen a lot of them coming up for sale in the last 2 years. And I think, as with any business model, there's a wide spectrum of quality that you can really run across here. So what do I think about this one? And this is really hard to articulate because I've never really thought about it. But, on the good side would be a YouTube channel where they create and shoot their own content, and they have independent contractors or other people in the video. On the flip side of things would be something faceless where anybody could get into it and the seller creates him themselves. Creates the content himself because he's doing all the work, and then you got to learn to do what the seller does. That's kind of what I'm reading here, considering this is at a 20x multiple. And it also hasn't really been in existence very long. got monetized in 2024. So in the last 2 years, it's gone from $0 to $22,000 a month in profit. That's pretty substantial. And whatever jumps up like that can also fall down real quick. For those reasons, I'm really not seeing much in that business. The next one here, making $14,993 per month, listed at a 38x, is for a digital product designed to help process uncontested divorces. The business has a significant list of well-branded domains, of which 20 plus are revenue generating, with a further extensive list of domains generating some traffic covering various states and major counties across the US. The product helps users file for divorce without a lawyer. The platform provides an intuitive step-by-step questionnaire that users complete to generate fully prepared divorce documents ready for filing. Okay, this is interesting. Aside from the fact that I don't like the market of divorce, I'm not sure I'd really want to be in the divorce business, but this to me seems like it is a automated document preparation platform, which is kind of interesting here. So it probably pre-fills out forms. I don't really know much about the divorce process. I don't know if those are different by state and county. Are they federal? I really don't know what's going on there. They mentioned state and counties in the context of generating traffic, but not with regard to the product. I'm not sure. Yeah, not sure about that, but I do see that they have 20 plus revenue generating domains. So this seems like a massive SEO play on a digital product. My thought here is, number one, I'm not a big fan of SEO-driven businesses. I don't really like the concept of having 20 plus domains. I like having everything centrally located and building a brand. So what this is telling me here is that this business has really not built much of a brand. This is kind of a find our domains online, and here's a digital product that we pumped all the traffic it picks up. But there's nobody out there that would really come back to this business. Kind of, they find it once, they do their document prep, and then go on from there. And that reminds me of something I just heard, which is one thing you should consider when you're acquiring a business is, if the business disappeared tomorrow, how many customers would you have sending you emails and knocking on your door, metaphorically, saying, hey, where did you guys go? With a business like this, maybe not many, because the customers probably don't even recognize what brand they're doing business with. It's just kind of a, hey, here's a digital product that solves a pain point. And those types of businesses can make a lot of money, like what we're seeing here, or more. But they're often not very robust because they cease to exist, if one thing changes. If the Google algorithm update whacks out 20 plus of their revenue generating domains, or let's not say 20 plus, but 10 of their 20 domains, business effectively gets cut in half. Now, with a digital product like this, you can acquire customers usually with ads. So that's where I would look to grow it if I were more interested in the actual market that it's in. So if you're an experienced advertiser, this is kind of a business for you. I'm a very experienced advertiser. I do have some very advertising dependent businesses that I run, spend a ton of money on ads. I'm quite good at it. But the caveat there is, and why that works for me, is because I have a lot of experience with advertising. If you're not very experienced with, running high budgets of ads, this probably would not be a good business for you. And personally speaking, this one's not a really good business for me, just because I would not want to be working in the divorce space or be thinking about that all the time. Finally, down here, we got a streamlined e-commerce business making $6,000 a month, and it can be yours for $195,000. Also, Amazon FBM. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if that's a typo. I'm not really familiar with that, but I'm going to assume here that it means fulfilled by merchant as opposed to fulfilled by Amazon. And maybe I'm completely wrong on that. But anyways, this is a streamlined e-commerce business primarily operating on Amazon FBM, with 94% of sales coming through FBM, 6% through Shopify, specializing in the home improvement niche with a focus on garage door products. The brand runs on a fully dropship model with a reliable US-based vendor in Texas. handling all fulfillment, no inventory, storage, or handling required. Okay. So aside from this being a platform-dependent business on Amazon, it's also drop shipping, which, isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they mention this reliable US-based vendor in Texas. That is, as I'm reading that in the context there, that is one vendor. Whereas if we compare that to our other drop shipping solar business, they have 5 suppliers. So what I see here in this business listing is risk of your vendor, right? Like, what if he just decides to stop selling them to you? Well, then you can't really go anywhere else to get the product. So in the case of this business, I would really want to diligence who this vendor is, what kind of relationship we have with him. Is there like an actual contract? Is this a business where a contract would actually hold weight? Because if they're buying this from one guy that produces the product in his garage in Texas and you got a contract with him, well, it's probably not really worth anything more than the paper that it's written on. Right? Because if he decides to stop selling them to you, what are you going to do? Sell him. You can't really force him to produce, the good for you. But if it's a well-established business and you have a contract, that's good, but then the contract really needs to specify details on pricing so that they don't try to increase the pricing on you. And subsequently, I would also focus on finding another supplier or other product lines that we can get in, but still, it's platform dependent on Amazon here, so I am really not too crazy about this. So of all of these businesses here, which one is my favorite? Which one am I most likely to be interested in? That would have to be the drop shipping business in the growing solar and battery niche. We got multiple suppliers at a low multiple here. We don't know how old it is and we don't know what the margin is. I'll look into that next. On that note, guys, let me know in the comments below which one of these businesses you'd be most interested in here. And if there's anything you feel like I missed out on. Aside from this drop shipping business here, I do kind of like the digital product divorce business. I like digital product businesses because they effectively have no cost of goods. So their margin is like 99%. They're good for that reason. And you can, spin them up and crank ads at them and really make some profit. But that said, I don't know if I would really pay $569,000 for that. I'd rather build a digital product business myself, try running ads for it. Yeah, so let's look into this one here that I said was my favorite and see particularly how old it is and what the margin is. All right, so as we land on the page, we can see the profit, monthly $7,000, revenue $20,000, profit margin 39%. One thing I like here is that the revenue and profit is fairly stable. I mean, I guess maybe in a little bit of a decline, but it's not like lumpy or anything. It's spread out over the 12 months that we see. Where's the age? Earnings. Now, when we go further back, we can see things are in a little bit of a decline, but the business has been around since 2022, at least. Some details on traffic. Yeah, I guess we don't really see when it was started. Oh, here it was. First made money on April 20th, 2020. So, it's been around for a few years. Algorithmic changes could cause traffic to fluctuate. Ad campaigns could become more competitive. Traffic kind of spiked there in 2024. Interestingly, we don't see a revenue that aligns with the traffic, right? So they're both going back to about the same period, May 2022, September 2022. And you see a substantial traffic gain right here. We don't see that in revenue. And what this really points out to me here is something that I think a lot of people looking for SEO services overlook, or people trying to improve their SEO, and that is that SEO traffic is something you can't control, right? So you don't know exactly which keywords you're going to rank for and where the traffic's going to come from. And you also don't know how that traffic is going to behave and if they're going to buy your product. And oftentimes what happens is you spend a lot of money or time on SEO, you get a bunch of traffic, but it ultimately doesn't lead to sales, as was the case here for this business. With paid ads, you can run traffic for one specific keyword, and if it doesn't make sales, well, you cut your losses and then you shift gears and move on somewhere else. With SEO, you can't shift gears like that. You kind of get whatever gets dumped back at you. All right, so after looking at the details here and our 39% margin, do I still like it? Well, you're traffic dependent. On Google, it's declining. I really can't say there's much to love here. If the earnings were more stable over 3 or 4 years and growing, that would be a different story. But to acquire this business here and be successful with it, you would either, from a marketing perspective, need to increase SEO and be good and confident in that, see some opportunity to run paid ads and sell the product, or find other products that you can bolt into the business and the traffic and subsequently sell more to your current audience. I think that, this just caught my attention here. I'm looking at the traffic channels here. But anyways, I think that there are better fish to fry. I would look for something that has been more stable here. So while this is an interesting business and maybe good for someone, personally speaking, at a 29x multiple here, I would not do a deal on this one. On that note, guys, I hope you found this video helpful and insightful. If you're out there interested in acquiring an established online business, you know the drill. Go ahead and smash that like button to help me out in the YouTube algorithm. I am calling it a wrap and signing off on that note.